All right, folks, welcome to our next smoothest review. Mass Effect is up, and we decided that we're going to review Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 separately and then holistically together because I think it is actually a necessary level of detail in order to fully separate everything out that is going on within these games. And I'm not looking at any of them specifically as having dragged down and ruined the story, but we'll get to that. So, first things first, folks, do remember, whatever. Remember that we review these games on 6 categories. We review them on gameplay, we review them on story/world, graphics and art, sound and music, overall vibe, and there's a 6th one, replay value. Obviously, replay value is the other thing we do to review. I swear I know what I'm talking about. Get over there. Oh my god, it's insane. Literally just standing in front of me. So, starting off, gameplay for Mass Effect is where age is going to hurt it the most. So if I reviewed this in 2007, I would have given its gameplay maybe an A. I don't think I could have given it an S tier. Even then, it was a little clunky. But in today's age, gameplay's a B. So, Mass Effect's gameplay, I give a B tier for this day and age. Like, if you're playing Soldier with weapons, there's not a lot of weapons. You constantly have to rotate upgrades. The armor is either really good or really bad. It's all over the place. You're picking up loot like crazy. And the technical abilities and the biotic abilities are not really up to snuff. It's a B. Honestly, I'd almost give it a C, except for the fact that it does run very consistently and very smooth, and it knows the system it's confined to, and it doesn't punish you for that. So it's not like you're working with inferior tools and the camera keeps screwing you up. It does work. So I give it a B tier for gameplay. And so as I do this review, I am not going to give these games the benefit of, oh, well, it's older, so it gets a pass. No. Does the game hold up? We are going to care about this across the entirety of what we're talking about. We're not giving any freebies out here. With that being said, I think Mass Effect's story is S tier.
We are eternal, the pinnacle of evolution and existence. Before us, you are nothing. Your extinction is inevitable. We are the end of everything.
There is an entire galaxy of races united and ready to face you.
Confidence born of ignorance. The cycle cannot be broken.
Mass Effect story 20 years later. The original Mass Effect, the story of the Reapers, is just so unique. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Because remember, it's story/world. So we're talking about the world building, one of the most incredible archives of Codex history that you can read through, discussing every race: the Garrett, the Turians, the Asari, the Quarians, the Krogan, everything, the history, the galactic nature of what's going on. Mass Effect's world building is top tier, and that's BioWare at its peak. Story and world are S tier, no question in my mind. God, that shit is big. Now, if we're talking graphics and art, I'd say graphics and art get an A. And the reason it's not an S is because it's the story and world that's the S tier uniqueness. Graphics and art delivered. The graphics, the drawing, the creation of, all of the races and how they look is really well done. But it doesn't do anything crazy above and beyond. It fulfills what the story was doing, and it solidly executes, but doesn't really go beyond that.
What about Shepard? Earthborn, but no record of his family.
Doesn't have one. He was raised on the streets. Learned to look out for himself.
He proved himself during the Blitz. Held off enemy forces on the ground until reinforcements arrived.
He's the only reason Elysium is still standing.
Now, if we're talking, so now we're talking our fourth category, we're talking about sound and music. It's, this is, I'm leaning towards A because the sound is really effective. The music is really well done. Like, the intro, when you first load up the game and you've got that starry background with the Mass Effect, music just playing in the background during character creation, it's iconic. It takes you back. And the Reaper sound effects, the Geth sound effects, hell, even the Rachni, it evokes a very real feeling of what's going on. And I lean towards an A for that. I'd give it an A- if I was delineating this more, but it is really good.
Alenko, radio Joker and tell him to meet us at the bomb site.
Yes, Commander.
You know it's the right choice, LT.
I'm sorry, Ash. I had to make a choice.
I understand, Commander. I don't regret it.
Now, for replay value, folks, replay value for Mass Effect, I must have played the original Mass Effect how many times? The replay value has to be S tier. You can play the game so many times and just enjoy it. Bring different companions for different conversations. Do different builds. Play different classes. Make very substantially different choices, Paragon versus Renegade, in the way you approach the game. And that's just Mass Effect 1. The replay value has to be S tier. And admittedly, replay value is a hard discussion to have without dragging 2 and 3 into it as well. And so, maybe that's unfair, because, all three of them, get the same grading for that then. So maybe I'll pass. Replay value is an S tier, and there's not much to discuss beyond that, because it's going to be the answer for all of them. But when we start talking, for our final category, just overall vibe, I lean between A and S tier. Because, S tier, again, you really want S tier to be something that's just really genuinely incredible. And Mass Effect's old enough that, it's kind of easy to give a little, to nitpick around the edges of that S tier. But the overall vibe is that if I walk in, I think, and someone's, if I walk into a stranger's house and, I'm there to meet a friend or something, and their sibling, roommate, whatever, is on the couch playing Mass Effect, you better believe I'm sitting down and watching that. I don't know what I was there for originally, but the vibe of Mass Effect is such that I want to sit down and I want to enjoy it, because it's just so good. So I got to give at least an A tier for the original Mass Effect's overall vibe. And it's interesting. So when I started this, I didn't think Mass Effect would be an A tier. Now remember, we're looking at all Game of the Years here, so we're expecting to see some really heavy distribution towards the upper echelons here. But the only B tier Mass Effect got was gameplay. And that's predominantly on the fact that it's aged. I think on every other category, it's A or S tier. I think this is an easy A tier overall. Yeah, I think the original Mass Effect is A tier. And I think it's interesting because much later down the road, we're going to be making a lot of comparisons between Mass Effect and Witcher, because there's a 1, 2, and 3. And a lot of people have only played Witcher 3 and will play maybe Witcher 2, but don't play Witcher 1, because Witcher 1 does make some key choices, but you can just choose them at the beginning of Witcher 2, or even skip all those and choose them for Witcher 3 purposes, and spare yourself games that don't really age very well gameplay-wise. Mass Effect is still worth playing. The early Witcher game, I would tell people not to play. I would still tell people to play Mass Effect, and I think that makes a really interesting difference on the trilogy. So, we'll leave that one there. Overall, Mass Effect gets an A tier. If you disagree with me, let me know. You're wrong, and that's fine. I respect people who are wrong. But if you have thoughts on the Mass Effect ranking there and the individual breakdowns, definitely let me know. But I think overall, I give it, 3 twerking mangoes on top of a gooner.